What's happening YouTube? PokePhD here. Got another video on some of my purchases over the last few months, whether they be for my personal collection, for investment purposes, or at least directly for my store. The previous video I made, well, similar video was in around October time, so pretty much anything around November, December that I purchased, I'll kind of discuss and talk through in this video, maybe some motivation as to why I purchased it, and generally show a few things off amongst the things that I did purchase. Before we get into things, if you enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a like, and if you're not subscribed already, I would really appreciate if you could do that. The majority of this video is going to be focused on graded cards because that's kind of the majority of the stuff I collect, the majority of the things I sell on my store, a mixture of graded and single cards. So those are what I'm going to be talking about mostly. I will dabble a little bit into some of the other kind of purchases I've made, some of the movements I've made on some sealed product that I've heavily invested in, as well as just some other things I've managed to pick up in the meantime. So I'm going to start with this first pile of graded cards. So these are some of the more interesting cards that as I said, I've managed to kind of pick up over the last couple of months. So I picked up this this Nippon Airways Moltres. I already have the Zapdos as well. I currently have it listed on eBay. However, it's at a pretty high price because I'm in no rush to sell it. But now I've got the Moltres, I'm kind of motivated to pick up the Articuno as well. But we'll see about that. The Lucario Melmetal, GX from Tag Team GX All Stars. I already have a couple of copies of this, but I tend to kind of pick up these cards because they go for like $10 or $20 higher than they go, for raw prices in PSA 10. So for me, it's a bit of a no-brainer picking them up. I probably at this point I'm just, collecting too many of them, picking up too many of them. But the fact that it's grading still $15, $20 and I'm paying like $10 more than the raw price, and it's obviously just a beautiful card as well. All of these gold Tag Team GX All Stars are just gorgeous. So as I said, picking up these usually on auctions that go for $10 or $20 more than their raw price. So I just don't think this is a bad purchase at all. And it's pretty much the same story for for the Greninja and Zoroark GX. Again, probably pick this up for about like $65, $70, and check raw prices to like 40s and 50s. And these are from the best Japanese Sun and Moon set, and also it's quite a I think the booster box is roughly about $250 at the moment, and I don't know the exact number, but these are not very easy to pack. They are probably the hardest of the cards in the set to pack. And the kind of mini set within the set is also fantastic to collect. The only thing I've got left to collect from that mini set is the Charizard and Reshiram. I pretty much have everything else. I've also at the same time been picking up a lot of base set cards. So the first thing is going to be just these base set holo cards. So these are all PSA 9. So Gyarados, Ninetales, Raichu, and Hitmonchan. And I do have a few more. Just move out the way. You can really tell how organized I am right now, can't you? Again, just base set sells really well for me, so I usually buy these to kind of sell on my store. And I was collecting base set to a pretty significant extent recently, but then obviously during the hype when the prices were so high, I pretty much got rid of all my a lot of my cards at least, just because it just made so much sense considering like what I purchased them for and what they were going for. So here's a few more holos, of course. So let me put that in one. There, the Clefairy there, of course. You see this beautiful holo pattern with the Mewtwo. Picked up a couple of those Mewtwo's as well. More Ninetales, and then finally another Raichu, and you can really see that holo pattern spot. Lovely. I also have picked up this, which is in was PSA 10, not PSA 9 condition, and the reason why I picked this up is I just got it quite cheap, and yeah, again, just another one of those no-brainers. Holo pattern's not as cool as it is with I guess if you just compare the two, because they're both obviously lightning types as well, but the background on the Zapdos makes it easier to grade, because you're probably less likely to see any marks and that kind of thing. I don't know about the exact pops, but I know this is certainly cheaper than the Raichu in PSA 10, but good card to pick up nonetheless, and really happy considering the price that I did pay for it. These are a couple of victory medal cards. So the one on the left is of course the victory medal challenge battle winner, and the one on the right is the knockout battle. not too sure on the history of these cards. Obviously, they're both kind of 2009. I don't think they're particularly rare or anything. Not the... I honestly couldn't tell you, obviously, challenge and knockout battle, but I just thought they were cool and putting bids for them and then winning them. Obviously, got the little sparkle on the medals themselves, and yeah, they're two popular Pokemon. Obviously, two of the Johto starters, so always nice to pick up those kind of cards. Full Art Darkrai EX. Did plan on actually buying this for myself, but then decided, you know, in my infinite fickleness, I did decide to then advertise it as being available for sale. The Nidoran and Magnemite, these are just first edition base set commons. As I said, always picking up base set as much as I can. They just sell really well, and yeah, it just does fantastically. It's just that go-to set for everyone who loves or wants to collect Pokemon cards. The Absol, this is the PSA 10 Absol from Triumphant. Of course, this is the Absol Prime. Again, this was another one where I was like, oh, let me just bid and see if I win it, and I don't think I got it for like necessarily a really great price, so I might hold on to this and see where it is. But I also just think it's quite inflated as a price anyway. I think they're going for about $350 to $400, and I personally think that's quite expensive, considering it's an Absol and not more popular Pokemon. So maybe not the best purchase there, but you know, can't complain. More base set. I'm sure you've never seen enough base set. Let's be honest. That's not base set though, is it? There's the Staryu. Let's ignore that. A few more PSA 9 base set cards again. The 9s also do really well, just as well as the 10s do, to be honest. So they're always nice to pick up. I actually graded one of these recently and sold it, and then I ended up picking up another one, the exact same card, the exact same grade. Which was quite interesting. Obviously, you would have seen this already. Always picking up evolutions as well. It's another thing that's really popular. Another set that just, you know, the cards really fly out. Sorry, I know I just showed the Lugia, but then also an evolutions card in Surfing Pikachu. Again, the Surfing Flying Pikachu from Evolutions do really well. They fly out pretty quickly. These are 4 copies of the pre-release Lugia. You can tell they're not the staff promos, just the regular ones, but again, I picked up a few sealed packets of these as well, as in just the kind of sealed packet you get within the pre-release pack. So I probably will send those up to grade, but I picked these up obviously already graded, so these are also pretty snazzy. Let me just move these out the way. I've already listed those, or at least refreshed my listings for those, so the rest of this stuff I haven't, so I don't rather not make more work for myself and mix up the pile. So let's continue, I guess, with base set, because why not, eh? God. So yeah, here's some more base set 10s this time rather than the 9s that I was showing before. So obviously we've got Charmander, Doduo, Jinx, and Ghastly. Those again to one side. I kind of like to, I'm usually a bit more organized with my inventory, but of course, like, these just came in. I've not really listed most of them, so they're a little bit all over the place. But you know, once they are listed, they go in alphabetical order in my whether they be the singles or the graded cards. In the cardboard boxes, they're all alphabetically ordered anyway, just to make my life a lot easier when it comes to shipping and packaging 20-30 things a day. Got 3 of these Japanese shining Volcanions, picking them up for like $15 to $20 each, which really isn't too bad at all. Don't do too badly with those. They don't go too quickly, but they're, you know, good solid sellers. And just as much as like base set is you know, quite in demand, and or I wouldn't say in demand, it's always in demand, but just, you know, the kind of thing flies off the shelves. It's a similar thing with Fossil and Jungle as well. So at the same time I like to pick up base set cards, I also then often pick up some Fossil and Jungle cards as well whilst I can. A few E-series cards, nothing special, they're pretty much commons. Voltorb, Tentacruel is a rare actually. I think that's a It is indeed. And then the reverse hollow fighting cube. I don't even remember picking it up. But I have it now, so not complaining about that. Here's a couple of things I bought for my Neo Genesis first edition set. So this is the set I'm focusing on at the moment. So obviously Girafarig and Hoot Hoot. And I'm collecting the hollows in 9s and 10s, however kind of where I see fit, where I pick up. If I see a good deal on a 9, I'll pick it up. If I see a good deal on a 10, even though I have the 9, I'll pick up the 10, sell the 9, that kind of thing. Nothing too complex, nothing, you know, no strategy that's not a bit out the way. Again, if I don't have the card and I see the 10 at a good price, I will also just pick that up. There's the non-hollows and the commons, uncommons are all in 10. I won't even bother with 9 of those. Picked up these two, I believe, on PWCC. I graded one myself recently, so I don't want to get it mixed in with these two because these will be going for sale, but the graded one I will, at least for this moment in time, keep. As I mentioned as well, the fossil and jungle cards generally do quite well. And what I find actually is more interested in the unlimited cards relative to the first editions, which is interesting. I mean, personally, I prefer the cards without the first edition stamp, but again, like with some of the jungle and fossil hollows, with the population that they have, especially the unlimited populations, are a bit of a pain in the ass to get. So like, you know, it's not that big of a deal, I think, personally. Go with what you prefer, go with what you like, to be honest. So these are all first edition 9s, I believe. So that's a Kabuto, Slowpoke. As you can see, the PWCC labels, Dodrio, Ponyta. Let me just, well, that's not fossil or jungle. That is. So yeah, just like the main, let me just do this rather than doing it even slowly, more slow. Yeah, so those are the PSA 9 commons, uncommons, first editions. They do okay. Obviously I picked them up relatively cheap, and then they're not expensive cards anyway, but something I just kind of leave for a while, and then they eventually like attrition and sell. So let me just these again to one side, and then I picked up a few Hidden Fates baby shinies. So that's the Inkay, that's Valerian Mr. Mime, that's obviously Shining Fates. To literally the worst card in Hidden Fates is literally the most worthless card. And then a Diglett first edition from Team Rocket. I'm not sure what that's doing there. It's probably belongs there. So as you can see, the majority of stuff I have been picking up as of the last couple of months has been more vintage WotC kind of stuff. And then in and amongst that, I'm picking up the kind of modern cards that I feel are kind of worth selling and sell quite quickly and do reasonably well. So onto some more modern. So that's a Solgaleo. This card I think is actually really nice. I'm contemplating whether to keep this or not because I did pick it up cheap, but again, it's not the most rare modern full art. I just think it's really cute personally, but I probably will end up listing it. This I did not buy recently. This I took out from it's pretty surplus. I was collecting stamped reverse hollows in PSA 10, but that's kind of fallen away now. I'm focusing on Neo Genesis, so this was surplus to me, so I kind of decided, hey, maybe I'll start selling it. So I took that out of storage, and I probably will be listing that point. Just to say, if you are interested in anything that I show up in the video, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. That's probably the best place to reach me, and I'll try and respond as quickly as I can. So as I said, if there is anything, just reach out on there. More Volcanions, because I obviously didn't have enough, but this time obviously it's 2 copies in English. And then back to the scheduled programming being the PSA 9 base set cards. And again, this base set, it does really well. People love it. And, you know, unlimited base set isn't that expensive, except, you know, the 9s are just so much more affordable than the 10s. And when I first got kind of back into the hobby, and then I got into graded cards, I was like, I only want 10s, I don't want 9s, and very much like 10 only. But kind of the more time's gone on, the more I'm like, And obviously I heard from many people like there's not that much of a difference between 10s and 9s, and it's totally true. But where there is a big difference is of course the price, and that's why when I'm collecting those those Neo Genesis hollows for my own set, for my own collection, I'm also just happy to pick up the 9s. I get those 9s and there's like one ding more than there is for like 10, so they're not the biggest deal, and that way you're saving a lot more money. And it's certainly hard to get over that OCD, like fake OCD of wanting a 10, every card in a 10. But like I think once you do get past that, kind of just push through that and ignore that just stupid feeling, and don't be afraid to have a couple of 9s, and then there's no rush. I believe in collecting a lot of the sets that you want, at least for your own collection. So pick up the 9 if you find it cheap and you can't afford the 10, and then once you can afford the 10, or once you find a good deal on the 10, then go for that. So that's kind of how I'm moving more towards, because I really avoided getting any 9s. It was only about the 10s, and then you realize that because they are like not the margins, but like difference in price between the 9s and the 10s are just so much for a lot of different sets, particularly obviously WotC, not as big of a deal in for modern cards, but at some point you do realize that they aren't too different. So paying that price is, that huge difference in price is not always the biggest deal. But it is obviously a lot nicer having the the 10, the 1 and the 0 as opposed to the 9 and gem mint in the label instead of just mint. So no, it's up to you as an individual, of course, but I think yeah, don't fret too much about ensuring you have PSA 10s, because I've been there, and at this point in time I'm just not something I'm too bothered about anymore. Some more WotC cards in here. So these are all basically jungle PSA 10s, I believe. Pikachu, Fairy, these are all non-holos, but they're all the rares. And the thing is with the rares in Fossil and jungle, they're not obviously rare, but they don't actually come up too often from my experience. Obviously the commons certainly do, but like a Aerodactyl Fossil non-holo, not like a crazy expensive card. I just don't see them come up too often. So when I pick them up when I can, because again there's always that demand with the original WotC sets, those first three sets. So, and that was obviously Fossil, sorry, Ditto in PSA 10, and here's a couple more modern cards. So I really love this card. I had listed, I think, about 20 of these cards on my store. At some point I had like 35, maybe 40 of them, and I listed them on my store as single cards. But what I did recently was I actually looked at those cards and took some of the better ones out. The cards that remained there, they're not like crappy condition. They're still mint, at least gem mint even, but I was being very specific. And so I took a lot of those cards out. I'm not sure if I even have any left over my store. I'd have to double check, but I sent them off just because I think this card's gorgeous. I think everything works about this card. The Metagross, the gold cross, and then just the color of the background. It just, I don't know, I just really enjoy this card. So hopefully send those off, and I should be expecting quite a few ends from those. Steam Siege Full Art, Steelix, definitely overpaid for this. It was a bit of a silly purchase. I think I paid around about $50 to $60, and yeah, it was too much. And a couple more Evolutions cards. So those two Mewtwo EXs Full Art, and this Half Art Blastoise EX. This again, another cool card. I'm pretty sure pretty much every Full Art from Evolutions is a banger, so this is certainly one of them. Mewtwo looking bad as usual. So that's the majority of the cards, and graded cards anyway. Stick this here because I'm already running out of space behind myself, so stick these ones here. This has just shown itself. I have actually been picking up these hyper rares from specific sets, but then again, if I'm picking them up quite cheap, just getting them, because I've been buying a lot of collections, buying a lot of singles, and they're never like really mint for some reason. Maybe that's just me, but I always I'll have a few copies of this Naganadel, for example, and they'll have dings and little bits and stuff. So I really don't mind picking them up as 10s. I get them quite cheap. I wouldn't say that they're like an amazing investment piece. It's just personal preference. I don't really like hyper rares that much. I don't like the Sun and Moon, the Sword and Shield ones, but I think some of the Sun and Moon ones are quite nice. Like I have the Solgaleo Lunala with the Lily cards. Those kind of hyper resin I think are really nice, especially the Japanese ones. Really do like the Japanese ones, and they have more rarity in Japanese than they do certainly in English, where they were just not loved or appreciated. So onto some singles that I purchased. So these three actually. So these three I actually bought. They were already graded with, I believe, HGA, and they were an absolute arse to kind of crack open. But eventually I did that to get pliers and a hammer to kind of bash through them. So cut them out, and hopefully they should all get 10s. They all look pretty good. Maybe centering's a little bit of an issue with a couple of them, but hopefully they'll come back as 10s. And I basically picked them up at raw price, in and around raw price. The seller kind of did me for. We'll ignore that. And then the singles, in terms of singles at the moment, I'm buying, as you can see, a lot of Japanese singles. And I'm hopefully looking to move heavily into V-Star Universe for the moment. Obviously, there's not too many here. Believe I have some more elsewhere, but I'm not going to be able to find them. Rummage through them right now. But yeah, I've already graded a few of these, graded a couple of these already. This red and blue, I think I've graded 3 or 4 of these. Hopefully, I believe they've all been 10s. I'm not too sure. I need to verify that. I've already have 3, I think 2 of the Starbirth Charizards in 10. I haven't graded this in Japanese yet, but yeah, I think with a lot of the Japanese stuff, especially when the set comes out after a few weeks, the prices get quite this is I think $15 to maybe less than $20, between $15 and $20 in Japanese, and the English version's like closer to 30, and in the UK it sells for like 35, 40. So sometimes it's nicer just to pick them up cheaper, obviously better condition, better quality, get them graded, pretty much guaranteed 10 with a lot of them. So unless you're unlucky and the seller from Japan screws you over, but they're usually okay like that. So yeah, they usually don't do too bad, and I think it's the same card. Of course, it's obviously not the same language, and it doesn't have that same attraction as English cards, but still, nonetheless, I think great cards to pick up. And as I mentioned, I am looking to go heavy into V-Star Universe, so I've been picking up a lot of that just because I know people are opening up a lot of product. There's obviously going to be a reprint at some point, and that's when I'm planning on going in on the sealed product. Spoke about this in a video previously. If you want to go and click and check out my channel and click on that and watch that. But the singles I'm picking up now, the Mewtwo V-Star alt art, the Charizard V-Star alt art, prices seemed okay to me. I can see them also maybe going down a little bit more, especially when, but I've spoken about this previously. The relationship between like single card prices and booster box prices is just really, really strange, and I don't really always see a straight kind of correlation between the two, so it's a bit messy sometimes kind of dealing with that. But at least in terms of how I personally value those cards, I'm sure there's going to be another kind of print run, as I mentioned, of V-Star Universe coming out, but I think some of the cards are just really well priced. The cards that are like $10 and below, I think are fantastic to pick up at this point if you're looking to complete a V-Star Universe set. A lot of this stuff obviously I mentioned in the other video, but stuff like the Charizard V-Star, the Mewtwo V-Star, these alt arts, especially because they're rarer in V-Star Universe than like the UPC promos that we have, I think are just really good pickups. And with some of the stuff we've seen with Japanese cards, during the era with like EV Heroes, that kind of thing, like the EV Heroes, Umbreon and Rayquaza are like well into the thousands at this point, at least $1,000. So I think some really good plays to be made with Japanese cards, and as I said, that's kind of why I'm really getting my hands and making movements on those. And finally, I picked up an inane number of these. If I can get 10s and 9s, basically, that's what I'm going for. Pikachu Yellow Cheeks, they do really well. I think I've sold about 20 or 30 of these in the last couple of months as well, so I'm kind of always kind of refreshing and picking up. And try and pick up some big lots, and a lot of those cards you'll see like a lot of PSA 9s with similar search, because I'm picking up big lots from like regular bulk sellers, that kind of thing, or just regular people who are trying to get rid of a lot of cards. So thank you for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and as I mentioned, if you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will hopefully catch you on the next one.